Hey folks, Joe Valley here at the Quiet Life Podcast. Thanks for joining us again for another session of great learning. Today's podcast is brought to you by the Exitpreneurs Playbook, written for you to help change your economic future for you and hopefully many generations of your family someday. Pick it up at Amazon.com or go to exitpreneur.io. Today's guest is an extrapreneur himself. He is the co-founder of The Prosper Show. Launched or had another Amazon business while launching that, investing in that, sold that as well. And now he's the CEO of a firm that helps Amazon sellers recover money from Amazon, grow their businesses, make them more valuable, and have a greater exits as well. And that company is GETIDA. His name is Eytan Wiener. Welcome to the Quiet Life Podcast. Eytan, how are you?
Thanks, Joe. I'm great. I'm so happy to be here.
I feel so loud and boisterous, and you're so chill right now. I'm a
little tired today, but I could get loud if you want.
No need for that, folks. We met. Eytan and I met years ago when you were flying into Charlotte, I think, right? And I picked you up at the airport. We had sort of lunch in a box downtown somewhere in Charlotte that you brought, and we hung out for a while and talked about your business.
Yeah, and actually, you, Joe. Gave me some pretty good guidance then. And this is before all these exits and Amazon businesses selling. It was kind of early for that. In addition to the fact that we weren't really private label, which is the fad now. Yeah. And actually, Joe, you actually told me to go more of like an investment banking route, which is also interesting because I took your advice, and that was very great. That was helpful. It was challenging in its own right, but you were very direct with me, which I appreciated. And I mentioned that to you last week. So
that's right.
Thank you. Yeah.
At that time, it was kind of necessary. At that time, I don't think we'd closed anything over $5 million. And now we're doing, and I don't want people listening to think that we don't do $250,000, $500,000, $1 million deals. We love those all day long, but we're also doing deals that are, 15 to 25 million. Walker, again, I think I mentioned in the last podcast, working on something that's, into the 9-figure range. So we are growing up in the industry, and we are essentially an investment banking firm for online businesses only. And we're growing with clients like yourself that are growing as well. So we're having a blast, and you're having a blast now as well at GETIDA. How did you get involved, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think last time we spoke, I think the largest deal you said was like 7 or 8 million. So it's kudos to you guys for getting to a different level, but also the industry is so robust that I guess it's possible. I'm sure if people read your book, they'll learn how to get to those heights. So again, thank you for that then. It's nice to reconnect now. I guess just briefly, I'm not going to go into the whole background, but just more on the GETIDA side. When I had my own business, Quantum, the one that I sold, the Amazon business, I developed a tool in-house in like 2011 for finding discrepancies in reimbursements and data that Amazon was kind of lacking in. And it worked pretty well. It's kind of like taped together some spreadsheets and little programming. Often we made the mistake of trying to become, I'm sure you talk about this in your book, trying to become something you're not, not staying in our lane. So I had a lot of different flirtations or detours of building software, building service, and we can talk about that later. But one of them was building this reimbursement software, which is really good. I had no inclination or even thought to really sell to the market. The person who I hired to create it actually made a product out of it, which is an interesting other story, which we'll leave for another time. But he was like first to market, and he did really well because no one else had it. So I like to say I created that idea. Obviously, it's a little more relevant and obvious now than it was not. But I did not use that tool afterwards because it actually wasn't so great. And there were some others that I tried, and there still are some others. Weren't so impactful. And we had a low margin business. So we're working on like 6, 7, 8, maybe 10% margins blended. It was actually lower than that until we pivoted our model, which maybe I'll get to later. So if I can get 1 or 2% back from Amazon, that's 20% of my margin. Case in point, when I sold my company, 16.5% of the bottom line margin was from reimbursements to the bottom line. So if you're getting money back from Amazon that you didn't know about, it doesn't hit anywhere in the P&L. It just goes right to the bottom. It's just newfound money, like finding a treasure chest. Now, I'll get to that in a moment. But um, long story short, I met the GETIDA guys at Prosper, which is the show that I helped found, which you
Yeah.
mentioned in 2018. Just kind of going around to the vendors and saying hello to everyone because I was initially the one who brought on guys. I remember Mark, your partner, was there, the first Prosper, talking about selling a business, and I was like, "What the hell? Like that's not a thing, right? You can't sell an Amazon business." But he was arguing that you could, and he was probably one of the first ones to do it. So it's pretty cool
Yeah.
where you guys are at now.
Yeah.
Side point. However, guys like Mark and guys like just the initial software players, we had about 30 vendors. So again, in 2018, there was probably like 80. So I met these guys. They actually lived in my backyard in Jersey. I didn't really know them. And they had a really unique approach, which I'll get to about auditing. And I use them for Quantum as discussed. They had did a much better job on many levels, which I'll get to. And that impacted my sale. I referred them a lot of business. Everyone was happy. It was kind of a win-win. And then when the pandemic began, I was working for this public company that acquired Quantum and in their offices. They were nice enough to host me because I really couldn't work from home. That was very hard for me on several levels. So I got closer with them and I decided to, invest and become the CEO and take it to the next level. And that's the semi short story of how I got here.
Gotcha. So in a nutshell, GETIDA helps Amazon sellers, Amazon buyers that are now Amazon sellers, people that just bought businesses, recover money that is rightfully theirs to begin with. Is it products or shipments that Amazon just lost and didn't find and you just never got paid for it? Give me the nutshell there.
Yeah, good question. So we find 1% to 3% discrepancy between like reality and what the data shows. Now, that's not bad. That's actually pretty good if Amazon's 97 to 98% accurate on billions of transactions or who knows how many. But it's just human nature, to your point, to lose items in a physical warehouse or to have a data glitch, et cetera. So to sum it up, the lion's share of reimbursements are around inventory and loss. So if you think about the cycle of inventory, shipping to Amazon fulfillment, FBA, overships, underships, damages, then within the warehouse, damages, lost, destroyed. Then as most people know, Amazon transships the items so that they're local for prime delivery. So a lot gets lost then. Then to the customer, there's issues. And back from the customer, there's issues, returns. And then from FBA back to you is removal. So those are 5 journeys, right? So imagine the loss. As I said, it's really not so bad. They do a pretty amazing job globally. But if there's 1% to 2% or 3%, it kind of behooves you to try to get it. It may not be that much money, but if you're, it's free money. Let's just be clear.
How much is it? If somebody's doing $1 million in revenue, can you quantify what that means?
Yeah, so
1% to 2%,
1% to 3%. So it's 10 to 30 grand. Amazon will usually credit the top 1% on their own. They'll reconcile. So that usually I like to say there's like 2% up for grabs.
Wait a minute. So if somebody's doing $1 million in revenue.
Yeah.
Typically you can find 2% in monies that are due back from them from Amazon.
Well, I don't like to say typically because there's a lot of variables and there's clients who do certain things on their own. But
let's say everybody, this is me asking questions and we're taking this with a grain of salt. Don't call Eytan and say, you told Joe you could get me 2%. Yeah. Every business is different. They know that, but
so I'd say 1% to 2%. So let's say 10 to 20 grand.
That's money in the bank right there.
On a $100 million seller, and we have some of those, that's 1 to 2 million. We got a seller back over $4 million last year, quite large seller.
Yeah.
And as I was alluding to before, some sellers do some of this process on their own, inbound reconciliation, whatnot. But we just focus on this. So we're not an agency. We don't do anything else. We just do this. And we're auditing almost 10 billion in aggregate FBA revenue. And we have thousands of clients. So we just focus on data, which means that I guess we could do it at a much higher level. And whatever discrepancies I may see on your account, I could do some R&D and say, hey, like, what about this? What about that? And apply it to the whole book of business, which is really cool. It's almost like a community in that regard. The best part is that
what is it called? When we list a business for sale, we're grilling the seller politely, professionally, and asking a lot of questions. We want to know the answer. We ask every question a potential buyer wants to know the answer to.
Right.
What do I ask them when I want to know if they're using a service like GETIDA or, and the question is, do
Yeah.
you,
Question
continually
is,
seek Amazon refunds for lost
yeah.
goods and services? What is the question?
It's a good point because some people kind of do or don't realize they do or don't. But I say, are you doing any FBA auditing? So that
Okay.
could be with a provider or that could be in-house. Again, many people do it in-house, and I also encourage that. Like my goal is not to profit from people's ineptitude, but it's to profit from what you probably wouldn't have found on your own if you really tried hard. Because as you know, you outsource fulfillment, you outsource returns because that's not what you're good at. I'm sure you
Right.
talk about that in your book. So if you're not good, or there's no reason you should be good at this, it's sophisticated, then let an expert do it. And having said that, our pricing model, not to sell anybody here, but just for transparency, is that we only charge a percentage of what we recover. There's no long-term agreements, and if we get zero, we charge you zero. If we get more, it's just a gain share, and it's money you would have not had. So that's why it's kind of a no-brainer, intuitive,
So
et
if I
cetera.
just, let's go with the scenario. If I just bought an Amazon business, we just closed the transaction. Jason Yelowitz was the broker, and boom, I'm now running a business that does, 3 million in revenue on an annual basis and
Yeah,
hopefully growing rapidly.
yeah,
If I want to get some, and the previous owner didn't do any auditing. So there's a pretty good chance that I've got instant equity in the business because they didn't do auditing. I'm going to hire GETIDA and you're going to find some money for me. How long
yeah,
does it take for you to find the money, and how is it recovered and then given
yeah, yeah.
to me?
No, great question. So, and we actually do a lot of work with or partner with like, brokers like your company or aggregators like the clients that you deal with these days. In that, if you're looking at a business, to your point, maybe there's these hidden funds because the person didn't audit or they didn't audit with us, so to speak. Even if they did, there's always additive value. So the answer is we can go back 18 months. Most cases, Amazon allows 18-month look back. Some 9 months and some 90 days, but the lion's share is 18 months. So not only do we find you, let's say, the run rate on an ongoing basis because we audit daily in real time, and we integrate, which I'll talk about, but there's a look back. So there's like this upfront like influx of cash, and then there's the ongoing assurance that will hopefully get you back that 1 to 2%. With meaning, to be more specific, you buy the account, we connect the account, we have an app store, we have a user, um, we're an Amazon service provider network. It's very tight and secure, and we go after the money that was hopefully will not expire because again, there's every day other funds expire.
Right.
The way you get paid is that Amazon credits your payout. So your payout looks higher because you got retroactive credits. So you have the money before I even think about charging you. I only
Okay.
charge the following month once you already have the money in your bank, which is great. It's just a pretty win-win proposition.
So everybody knows that Chuck makes fun of me for saying math and logic. I think I said it 19 times in the books. I don't know how he counted it. I don't know if you can do a control finding in Kindle or not, but it is accurate because I have the PDF version and I just I somebody mentioned it to me the other day and I discovered, okay, I really actually did say math and logic 19 times. So I'm going to do some math and logic on you. So as a seller of an Amazon business, if they're doing 3 million in revenue and you're getting 1 to 2% back, if they don't do any Amazon auditing, let's just go with a 1% for simple math. That's $30,000 that could be recovered if they do 3 million a year in revenue. And you can do, and this is a potential $30,000. If the business sells at, let's call it simple math again, a 4-time multiple, that's $120,000 that is not hitting the bottom line. If I'm fully understanding this, is that correct?
Perfectly correct.
No, I'm sorry, $30,000 that's not hitting the bottom line, and the business is selling for 4 times. That's $120,000 off the list price of the business. Now, I've got a son that goes to State College here in North Carolina. That would pay for his tuition for 4 years plus, a year of grad school. I love to put it in those perspectives.
We're going to try to work on our recovery rate so you could send them to maybe a private school.
You
But
got a
in
problem with state
reality,
schools in North Carolina? What are you saying?
no, they're all good.
Come on now. It's the
I'm just
best state
alluding to the
schools in the
fact,
country.
I guess it was a bad joke. I'm alluding to the fact that we're actually, well, it is 1 to 2% and it varies by client and country and process because we have a very large team and programmatic process and it's not just spreadsheets. We're actually improving our recovery rate. So I hope to may get to the high 1.7 or 8%
Yeah.
in the near future. Again, no guarantee, but
Yeah.
yes, what your example was accurate, and I see it every day, and it's impactful. It's a lot of money.
It's impactful for sellers and for buyers. If you just bought an Amazon business in the last, in 12 months, you better hurry up.
Correct. It's time sensitive and it's urgent. And the fallacy is people think like, oh, it's annoying. Like, I don't know. Like, I have to ask my ops guy. It takes 5 minutes to sign up, to connect. If you want, we can do a free audit. So we just show you what's there. It's like, you want the money, you don't want the money. Like,
yeah,
that's fine. No
yeah.
pressure. You want to do it on your own. You want us to add value. Like, there's no pressure, but there is expiration.
You mentioned the aggregators. So, we know that they're very well educated, raised a ton of dough, hundreds of millions, in some case billions, if we combine all of them, many billions. Are they using services like yours after they buy an FBA business?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm proud to say we work with some of the largest, if not the largest, and it serves a bunch of purposes. So as we said, a lot of them use it as an audit. So let's say I'm going to buy Joe's books, and I know there's 200 grand sitting there. I can add another 100 or 200 grand to my deal because I know I'm going to recover it. So it's kind of instant psychological or practical leverage for them. Number one. Number two,
they do that in due diligence. They hire you to do the audit.
I'm getting them to do it. I don't think, since they're, as you know, very large and kind of scattered because of all the growth, it's hard to streamline. It's also hard to get admin access to an account if you're doing diligence, right? Because it's kind of like a little dicey topic. But yes, I've done it successfully where it produced results, where they use those numbers to negotiate.
Why? Why is that beneficial for them to negotiate if they're willing? I mean, you're under a letter of intent at this point, and they discover that there's $50,000 to be recovered just sitting there. The seller doesn't know that.
No, I don't. I don't think you understood, or maybe I wasn't clear. Probably I wasn't clear.
I'm not so bad. It's okay. I didn't go to state school in North Carolina.
I went to state school is great. It's leverage for the buyer. So even though the buyer is going to, let's say, offer $1 million offer, they could confidently offer 1.1 because they know the 100 grand is there. So it sounds great, but between you and me, it's laden in the balance sheet. That's what I'm trying to explain. It's not in the balance sheet. It's in the bank because we'll certainly get it, and our estimates are conservative. So it's a kind of negotiating leverage where I know that you have a hidden gem that you don't even know about, and they use that in the audit, in the process, because again, it could be 10, it could be 100, it could be $1 million, and that's a lot of flex. And it's very easy for us to do, so it's a no-brainer. They don't do it enough, in my opinion. But the second way we work with aggregators is even more intuitive, is once they acquire the business, we'll audit it ongoing. So we have some aggregators that have 80 plus accounts, and we're able to link it to one back-end portal. And we have, because it's very interesting who you work with there, again, because they're growing quickly and they're a bit all over the place in an exciting kind of good way, but it's still a challenge. So as you know, so the onboarding team or brand manager can log in and see everything that's going on. There's streamlined documents. Most of what we do is very passive, but sometimes we request documents or bills of lading or invoices because Amazon needs that. Most of it's set it and forget it. So as long as they set it up front properly, which usually they do, it just works for them while they do their thing. So those are the two ways you work with aggregators, usually both. And it's great because it's just value, something they don't have time to do and don't have the expertise to do. And same value proposition, just at a larger scale.
Why wouldn't they just buy you? Right? I mean, it saved themselves some. I mean, they gain the expertise, they buy you, and they also get a sort of a built-in potential acquisition model because they could, get to know everybody.
Maybe that's an angle. For now, not thinking about it, but I don't know. I guess it's possible. We work really close with a bunch, and I think they're pleased and happy because again, it's a win-win for them.
Oh yeah, it's
on both of these regards. But
found money. I didn't talk about it in the book because it just didn't come to mind that's some of the stuff that people should do.
We may have to do a revision or a second book.
Yeah, part 2.
Yeah,
exactly. Sponsored by GETIDA. There you go.
Yeah, I'm happy to sponsor and write the chapter.
I don't think I'm ready to write another book though. It was painful enough as it was.
Okay, when you're ready, just give me a call.
There you go. So what is the average, aggregators aside, what is the average, seller that you work with typically?
Um,
Average size?
yeah, I'm thinking we have a lot of very large clients, like 10 and 8 and 9 figure clients, sorry, which kind of skews the average higher to around 1 to 2 million.
Mhm.
But I'm proud to say that we're an equal opportunity auditor. So whether you're doing 100 or 100 million, we we have the software and the scalability to service you the same.
Okay.
And it's agnostic in that the claims and the value and expiration date are anonymous. So if you have a claim for 100 grand that's going to expire tomorrow, and you're a $200,000 seller, it doesn't matter. The way we queue it up, and it's kind of sophisticated, we'll treat it all accordingly. And that's the scale that I'm trying to build. Meaning, again, there are other services and primitive in different ways, but we have a pretty serious development team here of around 20 people in Jersey, and we have a service team overseas. So I call it a solution, software and service. So the software finds all the problems and the challenges and discrepancies and the algorithm, and then we actually have a service team of mostly ex-Amazon case managers in the Philippines, India, and others that actually submit the case. Because as you know, Amazon doesn't like robotics. They don't like spam. They don't like bad data.
Yeah.
So we're very careful on the language, on the process, on the follow-up to make sure we get you every penny that we can, because that's our, you know, fiscal responsibility. And I have that covered for you. So we're constantly kind of going deeper with that, whole process. But having said that, just to go back to your question, it doesn't matter how large you are, since it's software and a bit of service, which is harder on the scale side, we'll cover you. There's no one too big or too small.
Yeah, the
But
service
the
side
average,
is
yeah,
submitting to Amazon, but like as a seller or
yeah,
somebody that built a business and is eventually going to exit it, or somebody that just bought it. I'm a seller. There's not a lot of time involved for me, right? I mean, it sounds like I'm filling out a form and giving you access, and you're off and
no,
running.
it takes 5 minutes to sign up. If there's discrepancies with inbound, which there often are, you just delineate a specific email to your ops or finance or bookkeeper. If they're organizing to give us documents or invoices that Amazon often asks for, you'll see a lot more recovery. If not, you'll still see recovery, but it won't be as much. In
Discrepancy with
addition,
invoices with inbound. Explain that to me,
yeah,
please.
so you ship to Amazon, you ship 100 units.
Yeah.
They say they got 90. You shipped 100.
Yeah.
It's kind of he said, she said. So there's a weight component where you could show the tracking number, which they have. What if you don't use their carrier? So they ask for your invoice. How do they know you even bought it? As you know, there's a lot of fraudulent people in the space that say they shipped 100, ship 20 on purpose just to make money, and then pump and dump and disappear. So it's very sensitive, the data, and we don't just make documents and make stuff up. It's a whole process. So what the challenge we have is scaling for thousands of clients and millions of documents and interface. So
Mm.
we're actually building into this portal a way where you can upload it, where it's more streamlined. Right now, it's more email based or one-off based. But really, most of the money, as I said, is in the journey of the units. There's a lot I can do, a lot without any of your input. But whatever needs your input, it's always the case, right? That's actually the most dear, expensive case, and it's delicate, but we're progressing there.
What are the drawbacks, if any, to using a service like this?
Um, I don't see any drawbacks in a totally unbiased way. Again, if you should be on top of your operation. So you should be, I'm sure you mentioned in your book, you should be on top of your numbers and your logistics and your costs and your COGS. You should have a team check inbound shipments and do all these things. Now, it gets a little deep. When you check inbound, you look at the Amazon discrepancy tool and you say, okay, I ship 2, 3. Like there's a quick checkbox. That's like basic 101. Some sellers don't even do that, which is a problem, but we can help them there if they don't. But I doubt there's anyone, nor should there be someone, who does a roll forward and calculates everything I shipped to Amazon, everything that's sold, everything that was returned equals this. So we're doing that every day. And then we say, hey, Joe has 3 books here and 4 books here, 7 books here. May not be much on an ASIN level, but additively, it's 40 items that were lost. And you just show Amazon the data. I mean, easier said than done. That's what our technology does. Hey, Amazon, there's 40 units that are not accounted for based on our calculation. With your reports, please credit me 4 grand. And if the data is right, they will. And they'll fight back. Don't get me wrong. What's interesting for you and your listeners to know is that you turn a double negative into a double positive. So you lose the inventory in some cases, and you lose the profit, right? You don't just lose the COGS, you lose the profit.
Right.
One nice thing that Amazon does is they credit you both. So they say, oh, okay, Joe, we found the book and we're crediting you a sale as if you sold it for $24.99 because we're the marketplace. So it's our responsibility to resurrect what the sale would have been, which is actually pretty nice in a world where Amazon's very critiqued. That's actually a very fair gesture. So that's why I
Yeah.
tell people you're actually turning into a double positive. So you don't really care about the COGS, you lost it, fine, but I'm we're trying to help you recreate a sale. That's pretty cool.
That is.
It's a little deep, but that's how it works.
Do they take the platform fee out of it as well? No, they must because they're giving you the profit, the potential profit that you would have had.
Yeah, so good
Yeah.
question. So I thought about this the other day with my partner. Amazon actually makes money on that because when they recreate the sale, they take their commission,
Right.
right? Versus not have. So if you think about it, obviously we're quote unquote taking money that's rightfully owed, which is a separate discussion as to how Amazon feels about it, but we're also allowing them to book the revenue
Yeah.
or the commission, which is
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
What do they do with all the lost product? Because it's there in the warehouse somewhere. Do they just have like a book burning day or
Yeah,
something like
it's
that?
interesting you say that because specifically for lost warehouse, Amazon lets you go 18 months, and sometimes there's no limits to cases. So they're like thesis or financial models, like eventually they're going to find it.
Yeah.
So unless you kind of call them out on it, they don't they automatically credit you other things that are mistaken, which I can go into. But lost, they don't automatically credit you unless you bring it up because they're like working financial model, which is a separate topic, is we're gonna account for it. Maybe it's here, maybe it's there. And often they do, and then they reverse credits, which does happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I've read interesting stories about like donations or I don't know about burning, but they'll sell it in warehouse deals. They say, hey, it's not accounted for, and they just list it on their own channel or
Mm.
they write it off. It's
Mm.
kind of a separate topic of returns and disposed inventory, but they hope they'll find it, and often they do. It just could be in a
Is
different country or whatever.
yeah, it's there's a lot to it. Is it pretty much category agnostic? Do they tend to lose, more pet supply products or small unit products versus
Yeah,
big ones? And does it make a difference for you in any way, shape, or form?
it's a really good question, and that's kind of why we give a range. Maybe I'll get one client back half a point, or maybe I'll get a client back 2.5%. So if you're doing small, lotions, there's crazy quantity. Maybe there's not as much volume or revenue, but there's so many more rooms for error. It's just like, if I throw you a ball a million times or 100, right? You'll probably have larger error on the million. So therefore, for larger clients in revenue size and quantity and transactions, we find more. Just the nature of probability. But to your point, yes, small items, um, um, uh, small items, certain types of categories that are just kind of awkward to receive. We see a lot of issues with, but more specifically, I just want to touch on this. Our goal is not to want the mistakes. Our goal is to help you be an efficient seller and look at our portal and see what's happening. So you can actually take action and say, hey, how come like when I ship this lotion, they're losing like 70% of it? Granted, we make a claim, and often the answer is you're just being very sloppily, or your Chinese warehouse is really doing a bad job, and they're mislabeling and they're whatever. So the goal is to look at the data and get better. Even with that, it's never perfect, and that's where we come in. But it behooves you to look at what's going on. Why do I have any returns of this item when the reviews are great? Oh, maybe you shipped it wrong. Maybe your warehouse is cutting corners. That's the point.
Mm.
Visibility,
Mhm.
understanding.
Yeah, it's amazing how many details go into actually being profitable, and how many people get so caught up in just trying to keep the wheels on the bus that they don't pay attention to little things like this that could, definitely allow them to hire somebody else so that to do the little things so that they can focus on big picture and revenue growth. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any last things that you want to share with people, buyers, sellers, about the business and things that they can look at and do on their own, or anything else?
I think we covered most of it, but as we stated several times, it's kind of a no-brainer. And
Kind of is, yeah.
everyone should look at it and try to do whatever reconciliation on their own or understand from your team or your VA, whatever, what is going on there. We also have a free tool. So if you want to log in, GETIDA.com, you could see what's going on. You can get a free audit, no cost,
Okay.
and see what the potential is. and then you could decide on your own if you want to pursue it, but at least you could understand the magnitude or the significance and the detail of what's happening. And it's, we're happy to help if you like, and if not, that's cool too. But yeah, that's it. That's
excellent. So GETIDA, folks, is spelled GETIDA.
Yep.
.com. So GETIDA.com. Eytan, if I can do anything for you, if you need any help, any questions, anybody can introduce to you, know where to find me. How do people find you other than the website? Should they just go
you could
GETIDA?
Email me. Yeah, you could email me. It's Eytan, EYTAN at GETIDA.com, or you can reach me on LinkedIn or social media, or I'm always happy to help, not just, by the way, for GETIDA and to sell. Since I've sold some companies and I've been around the space and prosper, I like to help people as much as I can. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm very responsive, or at least I try to be. And I believe in helping, giving back, similar to Joe, and I like it and I enjoy it, and feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to speak to anybody.
You've been around a bit, so it's a good connection for anybody to make in the Amazon space. Awesome. Eytan, great catching up with you. Great chatting. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us again. That was Eytan Wiener from GETIDA, a firm that will help you get reimbursement monies back from Amazon. It is kind of a no-brainer to go ahead and sign up for it. It's 5-minute sign up. It just makes sense, especially if you've got a business that's growing rapidly and you're losing inventory. That little 1% to 2% can make a dramatic difference. And if you're a buyer, if you just bought a business, I would definitely get that done. Or if you are under contract and buying a business, have it done right afterwards. That's what these aggregators are doing that are rolling up these FBA businesses. And again, if you have not picked up a copy of the Entrepreneur's Playbook, it is written for you. The goal is to help make a difference in your life in terms of your economic and financial freedom. So pick up a copy of it at Amazon and give us a happy review. Let us know how you enjoyed it and what a difference it made for you. We'll talk to you next week.